Orchard. I know, you're always good at that. Oh, great. I'm happy to do that. And we appreciate you. Yeah, it's like.
Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome to Rotary. We'll start today's meeting out with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Bonnie, I believe today you have the invocation.
I do. For food in a world where many walk in hunger, for faith in a world where many walk in fear, for friends in a world where many walk alone, we give you thanks, O Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bonnie. All right, and I'm sure Hobbs will be out soon with our meals, and we'll come back at 12:30. Welcome back, everyone. Go ahead and get started with the meeting. Sergeant at Arms, do we have any visiting Rotarians today?
No, Madam President, no visiting Rotarians.
And I know our speaker is here as our special guest. Is there any other special guest?
I don't believe so, Madam President.
And let's see, with us on Zoom today, we have Carolyn Klauser, Robin Harmon, Sam King, and Dana Kaiser-Breckville.
Hey!
Welcome all.
And both of our new Rotarians are here.
And our newest members are here, Chris Mock and Rudy Serafini. And special Rotary recognition this week, Sam King, Vicki Klinitzky, and Pete Legiovanni. But Sam is here, so are we going to be able to hear him, Steph?
If he speaks loudly into his microphone.
Sam, if you speak loudly into your microphone, will you please share one value or tradition from the place you were born or have traveled that has shaped you in some way? We can't hear you, Sam.
There we go.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sam. Do we have any happy dollars today?
I have $5 happy because yesterday at the Rotary Board meeting, we figured out a way to raise money for the foundation. And I will tell you more about that. But keep Monday, February the 7th open because I'm going to need help. That's all I'm telling you right now.
Are there any other happy dollars? I have happy dollars
going to be a check in my purse, which is behind there, so I will put it in there. My happy dollars are 10 happy dollars, 5 for the exact same reason Sue said, so we'll find out more, and 5 more dollars because Bob Fisher made it today, and he had a heck of a morning, so I hope the plumbing bill wasn't too expensive, and I'm glad to see you, Bob. Are there any other happy dollars? Well, we are going to bring back something that I understand has not been done since Rotary met out at the Lake House, which was before my time. But we got to talking yesterday at the board meeting and just recapping the new member orientation party that happened on Tuesday. It sounds like it was an awesome event. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be there. And Brad Evans said, hey, why don't we bring back the Rotary Minute, where somebody talks about something within the club, the Rotary organization that they're doing out there. And I thought, it's an awesome idea. So Brad is going to start us off, and so he'll tell us about our Rotary Minute. Thank you. Can I hold that?
Can I hold it? Because I'm going to have to read
And
it.
then
Okay.
I'll
Hold
just,
it. All right, so yeah, a little bit more. The Rotary Minute used to, 15 years ago or so, it gave the opportunity, we rotated it around the club each meeting, to come up and present for maybe a minute on something in Rotary, whether they found it in the magazine would be a typical area to find it, online, anything like that. Could be anything. It could be past history of the club, a project that we did that maybe the members didn't know about. And it gives, when I was a younger man at that time, an opportunity to get up and speak in front of more senior people. So it was good for me at that time too, to get up in front of a group and speak. So today's topic I pulled off of Rotary International's website, and I think it kind of it's going to work well with our speaker too today. So the article was titled "How Rotarians Are Fighting Climate Change." So I printed this out, and I'm just going to kind of read through it a little bit. Tropical forests once covered 12% of the world's land. Today it's about 5%. According to the drawdown authors, those are scientists and researchers. That loss accounts for up to 19% of the greenhouse gas emissions caused by humans. Reforestation would enhance the planet's ability to absorb carbon dioxide through photosynthesis while providing wildlife habitat, contributing to flood control, and conserving soil and water. But to be sustainable, the authors noted, reforestation must demonstrate immediate social and economic value. So there's a tropical rainforest in eastern Madagascar that's home to 13 species of lemurs, 77 species of birds, and 60 species of amphibians, and is rich in other flora and fauna. But is threatened by the push of new agriculture lands and the need for charcoal as fuel for these villages. I mean, that's how most of these areas the tropical rainforests are taken out, because they need to grow crops on them. So they're cutting them out, plus then they take all the rainforest and convert that into charcoal too for fuels for heating. So there's 3 Rotary clubs that got involved, one from Madagascar, one from Italy, and one from France. They partnered with a local nonprofit on a project to reforest about 125 acres with native species grown from wild seed, creating jobs for the area families and tourism. Rotarians also trained women in gardening techniques, constructed toilets, and provided 500 improved cook stoves that reduced families' dependence on charcoal. So it's a neat little article. There's hundreds of them, and so very easy to do, and look forward to seeing this happen every week, right?
yes.
All right.
All right, thank you so much, Brad.
We'll move on to club announcements. I don't know if any of you saw back there along the wall, there are thank you notes from a lot of the area third graders for their dictionaries. So if you get a chance to leaf through them, they're just some really, really sweet notes. And if you want to pass them around, yeah, that would be great too. On club announcements, Ice Fest, we are doing a slide, that's the 27th on Thursday. Philip has been coordinating the volunteers and said he needed 2 more to help out from 4:30 to 5:30. So if you'd like to help out at the ice slide on the 27th, contact Philip Whitley, please. And then Lynn St. Clair will be sending out a sign up for helpers during Run Your Ice Off. I don't know exactly. Does anybody know exactly what they?
I think part of it is during the race to be guides on the course, so that where the course bends around the corner, you would stand there to direct people to make sure everybody's staying on course. And you would only do that for the length of the race, so an hour and a half probably would be the most.
So as I said, Lynn, I believe, is going to be sending out like a sign up genius. So again, that's the 30th, which is a Sunday. Sue, do you want to talk about the 7th?
Yeah, now that I've got you all, in suspense. What is the motto of Rotary?
Service above self.
Very good. So, yesterday, it was determined at our board meeting that Gateway Gallery Auction had their lunch stand vacant on
February 7th.
February 7th, and they need somebody to man it, or woman it. Anyway, I will need help. And she said, maybe we could make $1,000 or so?
1,000 to 1,500 is the usual take, and it all goes to the foundation.
Yep, we're gonna give it all to the foundation. So, the lunch stand opens at 8, and we're gonna run it till 6. So, I will be looking for volunteers to help me over the lunch hour. Particularly, it's busy, but it'll be sandwiches and, hot dogs, soup, things like that. So, anybody who's gonna help, I will appreciate it. I've already wrote my colleague into helping over the lunch hour. We work well together. So,
We play nice.
I'll send out a sign-up sheet, and I'm gonna go and look at the facility. I've been at the auction, but I've never gone into the lunch stand, so I'm gonna need help. And any help you can give me will be great. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, it's all, Sue is donating everything to the Rotary Foundation, our club foundation, not Rotary International. And as we know, I know we've harped on it, but the foundation does need help raising funds because this year, $18,000 you gave out, Craig?
Yeah, about that.
About $18,000 were given in grants this year, and they did not have that much gifted to them. So in order to keep giving grants to worthy causes, we need to fundraise for them. Okay, which brings us to a second fundraiser on February the 17th. Jordan, do you want to talk about it? Or do you want me
You
to?
or I would be the perfect people to talk about it, obviously. But no, really excited to be partnering the CBVA and Gateway Gallery Auction. We're partnering to do a 7-part for nonprofit benefit auction that evening. So highly encourage everybody, if you can, please attend in person. But if you can't, you still have an opportunity to bid on all the items via the online auction website. So 2 opportunities, again, be there in person or be on there online. And all proceeds are going right back to those nonprofits that are involved that day. So
100%.
couldn't be more thankful to partner with you on that, Heather, so thank you.
And we will also be doing a paddle raise after each organization. So if you didn't get to purchase an item, but you still want to donate, you'll be able to donate at different levels as we go through that.
Yep.
So, Okay, and March 3rd, coming up is Read Across America. Chris Sellers has ordered the books and they have come in. Are You My Mother is the book for this year. We are not sure whether or not we'll get to go in the classrooms. It's a possibility. I understand they're letting people in now and groups have resumed January. I know clubs were closed down, at least at the high school, and we weren't able to get in, so hopefully in February we will. Either way, we're going to do a video. Cindy Richards is going to help, and anyone else is welcome too. I think Preston Cook is probably going to help, and we'll make a fun video. And again, for any of you who are new and not familiar with this project, what we do is we give out a small Dr. Seuss book to every kindergartner in the Chambersburg area school district. And we go in, we read the book to them, and then they get their very own to take home. For a lot of kids, it is the first book they have ever been given. So it is a big project and personally very close to my heart because the kids are a lot of fun at that age. Is there any other announcements? Anything I missed?
I
Steph?
have something. So, some of you might know I had my first speaking engagement about my thesis this past Monday, and I had printed out several copies of my thesis to present to the club that I was speaking with. However, my printer decided it would go off on a mind of its own. I'm not sure how many copies it was printing off. I stopped it at 22, and it was still happily walking along. So, for anyone who is interested, I have multiple copies of You're Doing It Wrong, using Facebook for personal profit and pleasure. You are more than welcome to take a copy, read it yourself, share it with a friend. Take a couple. There are quite a few here that I don't know what I'm going to do with it. So,
Well, that is a wonderful way to take an error and, make it a positive. We will then now, yeah, Jordan.
I'm sorry,
That's okay.
just quickly, I know since a lot of us will be downtown on the 27th of January, just wanted to invite you all to the Visitors Bureau as well. That day from 4:30 to 7, there's a big kickoff to Ice Fest mixer that they're having there. So I know some of you are obviously have some time slated out for the ice sled, but if whenever you get done with that shift, please come on over to the Visitors Bureau because there's just going to be so much food and drink and everything like that going on there. And it'd be a good opportunity for you all to network and whatnot. So we'd love to see you there.
And warm up.
And warm up, yes.
That's the key for some of us. Okay, with that, then we are going to have our speaker come up, Linda.
Hey.
Oh, drawing, thank you, sorry. I'm sorry, I even knew that.
I don't mind keeping the money.
We do the drawing now, and all the money goes to
The foundation. So we have $176 available today. If your card is pooled, you have the opportunity to come up to this board. There's a jackpot card there. There is a $20 card there, and there's a draw again. So if you draw again, you have 2 chances. Steph, you want to pull a ticket?
Sure. Last 4. 8488.
8488.
Bingo!
Jack!
All right, Jack.
Okay.
All right, let me see.
Trust.
8488.
And verify.
All right.
488.
Trust but verify. What do you think? Where is it?
What do you think?
Sure, go for it.
What do you
Keep calm and better luck next time.
Aww.
Should we look to see where it is? Because it's been up here a long time. Where would be your second choice, Jack?
Oh, that makes him feel bad if it is.
No. There it is. It was in the top right. It won't be here next week. It won't be in the top right. It'll be on the board.
All right. And
Yeah, he's just saying that.
Everybody, today's speaker is Zig Herzog. He is a volunteer with Franklin County Climate Change and is going to talk briefly and take some questions and answers about climate change and how you can volunteer and help make a difference. You want me to hold this for you or you want to hold it?
You would. Much better job than I will. Can you hear me back there, or do I have to pipe up? Well, you're good. Okay, so my name is Steve Herzog, and on the personal note, in case you're wondering, I'm German, or was born in Germany, now I'm American. Just at the end of World War II, so I'm a little bit long on the tooth here. But stayed in Germany for some, not quite 30 years, came over for a 1-year stint to study here at Penn State University, and I was 14 days into the country when a young lady grabbed me, or tried to grab me, and ultimately she succeeded, so we are now happily married for 45 years. Most of the time I have spent here in Chambersburg. I was teaching at Penn State Mont Alto as an engineering instructor, and engineering and physics are closely related, and that brought out for the topic, of course, of climate change. You're all, to some extent, I assume, familiar, and I thank you for the Madagascar spirit here. Planting trees is not only necessary here in Madagascar, but around here as well. And I just planted the last 2 years about 150 trees on my property. They're working together with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. So everybody here is welcome to get in touch with them or get in touch with me and plant trees galore. The more the better, but it cannot make a very big influence on the climate change, We are all lucky, have been lucky for some 10,000 or 12,000 years, but the climate on this earth has been very stable. Meaning, if you lived in the Midwest, we know now that people live there. Their climate 10,000 years ago was about the same as it is today, and the same holds true for Europe, Africa, and all the other continents. Okay. Unfortunately, the climate is not completely stable. There are a couple of possibilities how it can change. One of them, of course, is the output from the sun. And if the sun output of energy changes, we get more of it, like all the other planets do, and that might influence our climate here. One basic principle behind that is what we call in physics conservation of energy. Okay, and I did a simple experiment 2-3 years ago at home. I put a pot of hot water on the stove. Low electric output was electric stove. So what happened to the water when it was initially cold? Okay, the heat from the stove went into the water, and initially the temperature difference between water and the surrounding was very large. So it started to lose heat as well, but the temperature difference was very small originally because the water was cold. So the pot lost very little heat, and the temperature rose. All the heat from the electric stove went into the water. But then that changed over time. As the water got hotter and hotter, the pot lost more and more heat to the surrounding air. And so most of the heat then went from the stove into the water and right out the back door into the surrounding atmosphere. Okay, and so the temperature then ultimately leveled off. And the same will happen to Earth you know, if we futz around with the temperature here on Earth, we lose more or less heat to the environment. So sun output is one way to disturb this precious equilibrium. Okay, what's another one? What would affect the Earth too? Well, a little bit to Madagascar, okay? Our forest normally absorbs a lot of the sunlight. It's almost a perfect absorber. If you take the forest away, you have Earth there, which is not quite as good, excuse me, as an absorber. So more of the incoming sunlight gets absorbed by the soil, heats it up, and then the atmosphere clouds heats up. So deforestation, we have unfortunately witnessed all over the world, is another of those things we should try to avoid. Conversion of prairie to crops in the Midwest, for example, wide areas, millions of square miles, you know, were converted. That affects how much of the heat gets reflected back into outer space. Because outer space is the only thing where heat, which is impinging on the Earth, can go. Whatever doesn't go into outer space will stick with us and heats up the Earth like the heat from the stove plate heats up the water there. Okay, so we have to deal with that. What else is there? Cloud cover. A lot of the clouds, most of the clouds, the thick clouds, what do? They act almost with the sunlight like a mirror. Whoever flew already in the airplane, you see how white the clouds are. That is a manifestation of that the incoming sunlight gets reflected back. Okay. So if the cloud cover increases, you know, then it would get colder. Has the cloud cover increased over the last 20, 30 years? The answer is no. It has shifted towards the north, towards a little bit more cloud cover in our area versus at the equator. What else can change it?
Methane gas.
What guy?
Methane gas from
Methane,
cows.
yeah. When the composition of the atmosphere changes, you know, that affects how much of the incoming heat from the sun gets back out into space. Okay. You mentioned methane. Okay. Carbon dioxide, right, is another one. Okay. If we to sort of get an idea how strong the influence of carbon dioxide is, it's sort of almost a back of the envelope calculation. You can make, assuming that there is no CO2, no water vapor in the atmosphere. What would happen? You basically take the greenhouse gases, including methane. There are 3 very important ones. Okay. You take them away, so more heat goes into the space. What happens to the temperature on Earth? It gets colder. And it gets about 40 degrees, 50 degrees colder. Okay. We know that by studying other planets. At that temperature, what would happen to the Earth? It would be a snowball. Snowball Earth. You know, so the ice, we had the ice ages, it would go penetrate all the way to the equator and further south. Okay. Another thing which influences things is, you know, there. Oh gosh, now I have a senior moment here. It's what we call the Milankovitch cycle. Has anybody heard of that? Well, one of the one part thereof, in this direction, thereof is the tilt of the Earth's axis. Right? At the moment, the Earth's axis, the northern pole, is pointing which way?
North.
Huh? North. At which star?
The North Star.
The North Star, yeah, that's what it is called, the North Star. Is there a South Star?
No, not that we know
No, at the moment there isn't. And guess what? You know, the North Star, that it happens to be the North Star, is just a matter of time. It changes. 13,000 years from now, the Earth's axis will point in a completely different direction. And it doesn't happen all at once, okay? It goes slowly. Each year it drifts away from the North Star, okay? If you want to know how far away it goes, take your two arms, one at the North Star, and I think it is about this direction there, maybe. And then 45 degrees. This will be how far the axis will point away from the North Star 13,000 years ago. And that has an influence of our climate. It has an influence because of something yucky here on Earth. Most of the land masses are in the northern hemisphere, about 2/3 on the northern hemisphere. And so if you go south, pointing, your hemisphere is pointing towards the sun, so your summertime, Earth absorbs less heat than when the north is pointing towards the Earth. So which way is the axis pointing in the winter? Towards the sun or away from the sun? Away. When is Earth closest to the sun? It changes during the course of the year. Are you sure?
I don't know, I'm guessing.
June 21st.
Your chances were better than
June 21st.
Okay.
June 21st, every year.
No, unfortunately not. It's actually pretty much right now. We're now closest to the sun at the moment. And in our winter time, we are furthest away. For those in the southern hemisphere, it's the opposite, right? When they have the heat of the day, then they are close. But it doesn't matter much because they have less land mass. So you take all of those things into consideration and investigate them. You know, where are we now with our development of the orbit of Earth and the tilt of the axis and the sunshine or the energy coming from the sun? There's only one thing that we can change, or we do change actually, and that is by burning fossil fuel. You know, deforestation tops it off. Okay, no doubt about it. But the major driver for everything you see about the climate, you know, is because we're putting more CO2 and now methane. What makes it worse now is these things not necessarily happen gradually. So far they have pretty much. I mean, we see records being tumbled, you know, extensive droughts, fire seasons, floods, hurricanes, etc. But which we have seen in the past. But by gosh, nature can give us a punch, right? Does it keep on going like that? Hopefully, only very slowly. But there are things which we call, you know, positive feedback. When something is happening on Earth, and that in itself makes Earth warmer, which makes what is happening even more drastic, leading to more heat. Thawing of the permafrost in the Arctic regions is one of those major points. There's a lot of carbon and methane, carbon stored in the permafrost because the bacteria there have not such a good time digesting the decomposing biological matter, so it gets stored in the ground. Now we have lakes in Alaska which do not freeze over anymore because the ground over the summer has gotten so warm that methane bubbles out of the ground, gets to the surface, and stirs up the surface. I've seen those pictures, those videos there about, or where people drill a hole in the ice. Out comes methane gas, but it can light it.
Wow.
Yes, that's the change. In Siberia, we have now huge holes. No, it looks almost like craters, but it is methane gas which has gathered underneath and then exploded. Okay. Anyway, I don't want to frighten you, but the bottom line of the story is we have to do about climate change whatever we can do. We as individuals know it becomes harder and harder as age creeps up on you. When you young guys, I'm looking at nobody in particular. It can make a difference. Okay, so planting trees is what you can do. Would I buy a combustion engine driven car? Would you? Here's a question, 20 years from now, do you think you can sell it and trade it in for another car? No, because who wants to have it? So think a little bit about it. If you're in the business of, hey, my car is old, what do I buy new? Okay, there's the personal finances which are behind it, of course, from today, but in the future as well. And you might make the judgment. Solar cells on your house, it pays off now over a period of 10 years or so. The best estimate of about 6-7 years, depends on your house, of your living situation. It will pay off any electricity bill. And I tell you, nothing is better than getting your car charged by solar energy and drive around for free. That is extremely so. I think my 15 minutes are more than up.
Yep, you're right on time.
Well.
Do you have any questions?
Yes. Okay. And sorry, climate change is just so big. In 15 minutes, you can barely scratch the surface of it. So I'm running personally around here, trying to speak wherever I can. I do tabling in the warmer parts of the year, all over the place. And one thing, and I might get back via Heather and Linda and Bonnie about that, Earth Day 22 is coming up. Oh yes, and I wanted to show you a picture. Maybe I find the person who is responsible for this picture. Take a look. Sorry, my printer doesn't print color. So there's another problem with the printer. Whoever recognizes it, please tell me. Okay.
Brad, I think you should tell Sig what the Rotary Club did in celebration of our 100th anniversary.
Yeah, so maybe you know, but last year we actually did it over like 2 seasons, but to celebrate our 100th anniversary, the club planted 100 trees in the community. Yep.
Marvelous.
Anybody have any questions for Sig?
So a real loaded one.
I'm not here.
I loved your explanation of like kind of all the things that are going to that are happening with the Earth's tilt on the axis.
Yes.
I assume that's happened repeatedly.
Yes.
Over for a million years it's happened.
Yes.
And then the other things that you mentioned. What influence are we having on that?
You mean on the tilt of the
Well, no. What of global warming as a whole? How much of an input are we having in that 14,000 year where the axis is going to tilt anyway?
Yes, absolutely, and it's done so. And all the other parameters. The orbit of Earth around the Sun is basically an ellipse. An ellipse has a long axis and it has a shorter axis, right? If the two are equal, then we would talk about a circle. Okay, and so that one changes as time goes on. The tilt of the Earth axis and magnitude changes as well over time. Okay, so all these things have gone on. The present theory is that the occurrence of the ice ages and the warming periods in between are due to that. Okay, so it has a major influence on our climate. At least that's our thinking. You know, unfortunately, we weren't there during the last ice age, so we have no measurements. It's just, you know, proposals, you know, which makes sense to many people. Okay. So at the moment, over a time scale, let's say 1,000 or 2,000 years, those things do not matter. The spin, the precession, as it is called, of the Earth axis takes place on a time scale of 27,000 years. The back and forth of the tail is about 40,000 years. Change in the orientation of the ellipse is, I forgot, 100,000, 150,000 years. Okay, so those are all long-term things. They don't make the climate change within 30, 40 years, as we see now. Okay, so that's how we're pretty much convinced. You know, there's just nothing left which could influence the energy balance of Earth, but us influencing basically the thickness of the blanket around the Earth. That's what the atmosphere basically is. It is a blanket. Moon doesn't have it. So moon, if it is exposed directly to the sunlight, is something like 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, when it is in the shade, it's maybe 50 degrees below or even lower. You know, so we're so fortunate with our little tiny thin atmosphere, right? It's as thick as the shell of an egg in comparison to the size of the Earth. So it's a very thin layer, but by gosh, that's all we have. And if we want to futz around with it, which we do with the carbon dioxide, and we don't turn it off, then we conduct a huge experiment, right? How bad will it get if we don't do anything? Okay, so if we keep on going the way we do, we have to live ultimately with the consequence. Well, not me, I will bite the dust within the next 40 years. The younger ones of you are and my children and my grandchildren and all that stuff too. That's how serious I touch it. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
All right. This is for you, sir. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
All right, and I'm sure Zig will be after the meeting if you have any other questions for him. And we will see you the third, whatever, Thursday. It's February, no, the 1st. I don't even know what date it is. I'm so sorry. February the 7th is our next meeting. Craig's going to put up a schedule on our website of the upcoming speakers. So thank you, Craig, for doing that.